We will not allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon.
If I'm the president, we will attack Iran.
And that's why the United States will do what we must to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
This is an operation that presidents of the past have dreamed about, but no president had the guts to actually do it. But President Trump did.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. Do y'all remember Biden and Hillary and Kamala and Obama talking so flippantly about bombing and attacking Iran? Well, I think they were kind of hoping that we all forgot. So let's bring this in and let's talk about it. Let's go.
The United States is clear. We will not allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon.
If I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that.
Wow.
Make no mistake, a nuclear-armed Iran is not a challenge that can be contained. It would threaten the elimination of Israel, the security of Gulf nations, and the stability of the global economy. It risks triggering a nuclear arms race in the region and the unraveling of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. That's why a coalition of countries is holding the Iranian government accountable. And that's why the United States will do what we must to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
What are we going to do, sir?
As long as I'm president of the United States, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon.
Oh, really?
I made that clear when I came into office.
And look, I mean, Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? And what we saw in terms of just this attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles, what we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
The president is pleased, the country is pleased, and frankly, Brian, the whole world should be pleased with the courageous action that President Trump and our United States military took on Saturday night. I want to thank, and the president wants to thank, the brave pilots who flew nearly 40 hours and more than 7,000 miles from the middle of America to the Middle East to conduct this highly successful and complex precision strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. This is an operation that presidents of the past have dreamed about, but no president had the guts to actually do it. But President Trump did, to take away this imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but to the United States and the rest of the world. So the country is a safer place today because of the president's bold action, and he has prevented a nuclear conflict. He has prevented a rogue radical regime from obtaining a nuclear bomb and threatening our people. He saw, based on U.S. intelligence, that Iran is just weeks away from obtaining a nuclear weapon. And President Trump has been saying his entire life, not just as a presidential candidate or as president of the United States twice, but also as a private citizen, that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. And that's something that leaders around this world and on both sides of the political aisle agree with. Again, presidents dating back to Democrat Bill Clinton have said that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon, but none of them had the courage to actually do something about it, and President Trump did. And nobody knows what it means to accomplish peace through strength better than President Trump. He is the one who came up with that motto and that foreign policy doctrine, and he successfully implemented it in his first term. And this is one of many steps he is taking to successfully implement peace in his second term. The president wants to see a peaceful and prosperous Middle East. He talked about that extensively when we took that historic trip to Saudi Arabia, and he talked about how the Iranian terrorist regime was bringing down the rest of the region, and our Gulf partners and allies agree with that sentiment.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I think that question being asked in the media, that's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that
everything
is the
they need
key
to build a
point
weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not been made.
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, It doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons. Because they can quickly make it 90. They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No. They're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but
so
that's a question. That's a question of intent. And you know, in the intelligence assessment, that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold state and use this leverage. I'm talking about the public March assessment, and that's why I was asking you if you know something more from March.
But that's also an inaccurate representation of it. That's an accurate representation of it. That's not how intelligence is read. That's not how intelligence is used. Here's what the whole world knows. Forget about intelligence. What the IAEA knows. They are enriching uranium well beyond anything you need for a civil nuclear program. So why would you enrich uranium at 60%? Right. If you don't intend to one day use it to take it to 90 and build a weapon. Right. Why are you developing ICBMs? Why do you have 8,000 short-range missiles and 2,000 to 3,000 long mid-range missiles that you continue to develop? Why do you do all these things? They have everything they need for a nuclear weapon. They have the delivery mechanisms. They have the enrichment capability. They have the highly enriched uranium that is stored. Yes. That's all we need to see. Right. Well, especially in the hands of a regime that's already involved in terrorism and proxies and all kinds of things around. They are the source of all this instability in the Middle East.
No one's disputing that. I'm not doing that here.
I followed this issue for 15 years, including the intelligence on it for 15 years. Okay, I have followed it. And the intelligence, these are assessments, and sometimes they've been wrong. I've seen them revised multiple times. These guys want a nuclear weapon one day.
Okay, to that point.
And it isn't going to happen. Not while Donald Trump is president.
Understood. You've said this is not about regime change, but you were describing a regime that you have said for decades, I mean, for upwards of 40 years, has chanted death to America, has done all the things you just described. Isn't a diplomatic deal with them a lifeline? Aren't you offering to negotiate with the same people you're saying did all these things? So therefore, are you actually looking for regime change?
That misses the point. I don't like that they chant those things, but one thing is that they chant those things. Another thing is that they chant those things and they have terror proxies are all over the world, and they have long-range missiles that can reach the United States one day, and they have the potential to be one step away from a nuclear weapon. Yeah, well, one day could be tomorrow, could be a week from now, could be a month from now. You know, all it takes is the flip of a switch. By the way, they're not going to broadcast that to the world. By the time we figure out that they're doing it, you have all the pieces in place. Okay, it's like you have a gun here and the ammunition. It only takes 1 second. These people are dangerous. This is a radical Shia clerics who run that country, and they are the source of all instability in the region, all of it. Without Iran and this regime, there is no Hamas, there is no Hezbollah. Well, because we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Okay, but
that's the core objective. But I'm going through the things they've done because that's why they can't have a nuclear weapon. Okay, they sponsor Shias. They sponsor these Shia militias, Hamas.
So if I'm understanding Marco Rubio, and I think I do understand the host as well, Marco Rubio says, we can have discussion with you, but we've got to remove the fact that you have access to this horrible weaponry off the table. And we could probably have a conversation with you. She's saying, well, why are you having a conversation with them? Because they have this horrible weapon on the table. Now that you remove the table, now you remove the weapon, but aren't the people still bad? I kind of understand what she's trying to get, but I definitely understand Marco way better. But let's go.
Hezbollah, all these other terrorist groups, these people are never going to get anywhere close to a nuclear weapon. Not while Donald Trump is president.
Why would Iran agree to any peace deal if the United States has already pulled out of one that they had, as President Trump did in 2018, and now has launched 2 surprise attacks? Both Israel and the United States have done so. There is such a massive trust deficit there. How could you possibly come to
the trust deficit started with Iran.
I know.
Well, the trust deficit, the ones that shouldn't be trusted are the Iranians, because they're the ones that sponsor terrorism. Did they forewarn us before they blew up the embassy in Lebanon and killed over 200 American servicemen? Did they forewarn us before they built IEDs and blew the legs and arms off of American servicemen in Iraq? I mean, these are the people that are doing this forever. They're the ones that no one should trust. They're the ones that have lied about their nuclear program.
But
they're the ones that have hidden things from the international organisms.
But that sounds like we're headed towards regime change, or the desire to get these people out of power.
No.
Are you?
No, a serious foreign policy is one that's focused on identifying what our national interest is. You don't have to like the regime. There are a lot of regimes around the world that we don't like, okay? But in this particular case, what we are focused on is not the changing of the regime. Okay, that's up to the Iranian people if they want to do that, but that's
Right.
not what we're focused on. Our national interest is about one thing, and that is Iran not getting anywhere near the capability to weaponize and have nuclear weapons. They're not going to get anywhere near that capability.
This is a very thorny topic. It's not a simple cut and dry scenario. Yes, there's going to be some removing of some weaponry off the table, but yeah, there's going to have to be some coming to the table as well. I think this is a both and. I think both sides are going to have to come together. All three sides, whatever, are going to have to come together and have conversation and talk about their shared interests and their shared goals. And yeah, you're going to have to stop chanting death to America, and we're going to not blow you into the Stone Age again. So I think there's going to be a both and exchange. But this is such an interesting time. It's such an interesting time because at the end of the day, when all the smoke clears, Christ still reigns, and he is still King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So you don't have to worry. You don't have to wring your hands. You don't have to fear, doubt, or wonder. We know that who's in control, and ultimately it's Christ. So down in the comments, let me know what you think about the Marco Rubio exchange. What do you think about this? Is there a way? Is there a path to peace that you could understand, that you agree to, whatever your political leaning is? Is there a path to peace that can bring some kind of semblance of peace to the Middle East? I mean, we've been talking about it since I was a kid, but I want to know what y'all think about it. So thank you so much for liking the video. Thank you so very much for subscribing and helping us hit our goal of 50,000 subscribers. Looking forward to celebrating with you all real soon. So until next time, everybody, grace and peace.